What's up, everybody? We are Lisa and Greg.
Hey guys, thanks for being here. Today we're going to watch why Europe is insanely anti-religious.
Oh boy. And today's video is brought to you by Versed, and we will include a link in the description so you can go and show them some love. I'm sure they would definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, this wasn't recommended by anybody, but I just saw it, and we've done a few videos about Christianity here, mostly in the Nordic countries.
Yeah.
And how they approach religion and stuff like that. And
it's super interesting, I always thought. So it'd be good to see more. Yeah.
And this is about Europe being insanely non-Christian, especially in we're going to compare it because we're U.S. citizens.
Yeah.
We're going to compare it to
Our
America.
Perspective.
Our perspective.
Our perspective.
So that, okay.
All right.
So,
okay. Well, before we get going here, go ahead and like the video. All right. You ready?
Yes.
All right. Let's go.
Okay.
Christianity is dying in Europe. Yes, the continent that sent missionaries all over the world to bring people to the religion is now slowly losing it themselves.
That's true. I never thought of that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either. That they're the ones that they're the ones that even brought it to the U.S.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
Missionaries all over the world to bring people to the religion is now slowly losing it themselves. Back in 1900, nearly 95% of Europe's population was some form of Christianity.
Oh, wow.
Yet in 2020, that number was just 76%. And the reality is, it's actually much lower than this, because affiliation does not mean participation. For example, in Sweden, less than 20% of 15-year-olds attend confirmation, whereas compared to the 1970s, that number was 80%. Or if we're to look at Italy, home to many of the world's most influential religious figures, and with the Vatican City right in the center of Rome, nearly 80% of Italians say they're Catholic. Yet 31% never attend any services at all. And even if we're to look at a country like Poland, which many people think of as a very traditional Christian country, 84% identify as Catholic, yet only half of them say they're practicing. So what I'm saying is that 76% number is actually much, much lower. The biggest gains have been from the agnostics and atheists.
I think it's so interesting too. This just made me think of this. Like, there's these beautiful cathedrals and stuff all over Europe.
But it's interesting because we're not particularly religious, but we love those cathedrals, those churches. Just for more the calmness of them and the beauty of them than the religious part of them.
Actually much, much lower. The biggest gains have been from the agnostics and atheists, who are more willing to identify as such because it doesn't carry the same stigma that it once did. Then there's also the Muslims, whose 9 million members in 1900 grew to more than 53 million, largely through migration from North Africa and the Middle East. But enough with all these stats. What has actually happened to Christianity in Europe? Well, like every cultural shift, there's many reasons. But to begin, I think we should go all the way back to where it first started from. The Protestant Reformation. Although the Reformation was intended as a revival and purification of Christianity in the early 16th century, the theological, cultural, and social shifts it set in motion had the long-term impact of indirectly contributing to the decline in religiosity. Magisterial reformers like Martin Luther and John Calvin rejected the medieval concept of the church as superior to the state. Instead, they argued that political leaders equally perform the work of God, and do so directly, without the church as mediator. This not only laid the foundation for modern secular governance, where there's separation of church and state, but it also changed the view of how to serve God. Before, the highest form of Christian life was thought to be monkhood, living in seclusion and practicing prayer non-stop. The world was seen as a distraction from true holiness, creating a sharp divide between sacred and secular, which was literally everything else. But Martin Luther, for example, argued that all legitimate work could be a form of worship, hence the doctrine of vocation, which dignified secular life. The relevance of this is that it helped normalize a more individual, worldly form of religious expression, which over time contributed to less dependence on the church and more focus on personal or civic life. The next
so I think, in other words, like, everything you do could be seen as not religious, but in like Christ-like.
Yeah.
Like everything you do. So it's not necessarily about going to church and worshiping and doing and always being in prayer like the monks.
Right.
It's in everyday life.
Right.
That you're worshiping or you're being of service to God and God-like and whatever.
Let's see that again.
A more individual, worldly form of religious expression, which over time contributed to less dependence on the church.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Martin Luther, for example, argued that all legitimate work could be a form of worship,
Right.
hence the doctrine of
Any kind of work.
vocation, which dignified secular life. The relevance of this is that it helped normalize a more individual, worldly form of religious expression, which over time contributed to less dependence on the church and more focus on personal or civic life.
Right, because they thought that was their way of like almost like going to church. If you do any work or your civic life, then okay.
The next major turning point in the decline of Christianity was the 30 Years' War, which actually had its origins in the Reformation. The religious divisions created from it destabilized the Holy Roman Empire, and those unresolved tensions exploded into the war when Holy Roman Emperor Ferdinand II attempted to force Roman Catholicism on his subjects. Obviously, the war ended up becoming much more about power and territory in the end, but nevertheless, it disillusioned many with religion. This war caused unprecedented destruction across large parts of Central Europe, with an estimated death toll of 8 million. From the sheer scale of violence and suffering, it seemed that Christian churches
It's over 30 years, but still, that's a lot.
Still,
Yeah.
of 8
family's
million.
gone.
From the sheer scale of violence and suffering, it seemed that Christian churches, instead of offering peace, fueled the bloodshed. A strong state appeared to be the best way to protect society from religion's potential for conflict. As a result, the war helped set the stage for the Enlightenment period to come a few decades later. This was obviously devastating for Christianity. The Age of Enlightenment was an intellectual and philosophical movement that valued reason, science, and empirical observation over faith and tradition. This directly challenged the central premise of Christianity, that truth is revealed by God and transmitted through scripture or the church. The Enlightenment introduced the idea that ethics and morality could exist independent of religion, a radical shift from medieval thinking. While Christianity didn't appear overnight, the period planted the seeds of skepticism, individualism, and rationalism that slowly eroded Christianity's dominance over time. What came as a natural consequence of the Enlightenment
Did you say nice?
I think it's nice. I think it's good.
eroded Christianity's dominance over time. What came as a natural consequence of the Enlightenment period, occurring near its end, was the Industrial Revolution of Europe, which began around 1750 in Britain and spread to the rest of Europe in the 1800s. It led to rapid urbanization, to say the least, with millions of people moving from rural villages to crowded, chaotic cities. In these rural areas, the local church was the social center. But in the cities, people were exposed to diverse beliefs and ideologies. New social groups not bound by traditional religious norms formed. Public education systems also began to emerge in the 19th century.
I would say that's pretty similar in the United States. Like just thinking of, where my mother grew up, they just had the church was everything.
That's
like,
true.
Everybody went there and everybody knew each other. Like you went there as a way to like socialize.
Right.
Or have fellowship, they would say.
Right.
So, but then if you go into the city, there's a bunch of other stuff to do.
Yeah. And then
so.
different people with different ideas, and it just broadens your mind.
Yeah.
With governments gradually making education secular. As people moved from illiteracy to education, they were exposed to new ideas, especially scientific and philosophical, that challenged religious teachings. The next pivotal shift happened just a century later, during the post-World War II period. For starters, the sheer evil and destruction of World War I and II, coming from Europe itself, the so-called Christian continent, led many Europeans to lose faith in Christian moral authority. But there was also another side to this. There was a growing sense of guilt and moral reckoning about the brutality of colonial empires. Christianity in Europe was not just spiritually present in these empires. It was often seen as a justifying force, providing moral or civilizational language to back imperial domination. Even if not every church actively supported colonization, many failed to clearly oppose it or distanced themselves only in hindsight. As European societies became more self-critical in the late 20th century, especially during post-colonial reflection, Christianity became tainted by association, perceived as complicit in conquest, forced conversion, and cultural erasure. Many Europeans, especially
so religion got a negative name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
the younger and educated classes, wanted to move past this all. They began to disengage from Christianity, not necessarily from belief in God, but from institutional religion itself. That basically leads us to today, where Christianity has continued on a downward spiral. It's interesting though when you look at the relative religiousness of the continent. Western Europe is incredibly secular, while Eastern Europe is still seen as retaining that Christian culture. Of course, the irony in all this is that it's the countries where communist regimes once repressed religious worship and promoted atheism, like Russia, Serbia, Romania, and Croatia, where it's now the strongest. This is especially visible in the Orthodox countries, as Catholicism in communist countries like Poland and Hungary had always remained strong, even under repression. Now, to many people, usually those on opposite sides of the political spectrum, there's additional reasons for the decline of Christianity today. For example, some traditionalists would say that Christianity is now watered down, that the churches have turned, quote, liberal, where everything goes. While the progressives would say the religion's decline is due to its exclusionary practices, stances, and discrimination, which in a highly secularized continent is a big...
I mean, that's interesting. Are they kind of saying the same thing?
Yeah, they're having two different views depending on what side you're on.
Hold on. I'm gonna hear this again.
Okay.
Today. For example, some traditionalists would say that Christianity is now watered down, that the churches have turned, quote, liberal, where everything goes.
I mean, just speaking of the United States, I don't know
what they mean by that, by being liberal.
Well, like, they wouldn't say
God
that
forbid.
the churches are liberal in the United States, that everything goes. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that does not go in the eye of, Christians.
True.
So,
like gay marriage or something like that.
Yeah, but, I mean, unless they're like trying to compare it to how it used to be, so it's more liberal than how it was. Like they don't, make women wear certain clothes or stuff like that. So now it's liberal and everything goes. But I don't know.
While the progressives would say the religion's decline is due to its exclusionary practices, stances, and discrimination, which
see, they're saying exclusionary practices. So like excluding the gay marriages, the, I don't know, whatever.
Oh, you know what's interesting? I just realized he said liberal and progressive. He's comparing them to. So, I mean, obviously he's not talking, he's not talking about the United States, so we probably shouldn't make it about that.
No, that's true.
He said liberal and progressive. They're different things.
Right. And from what everyone has been teaching us in the comments, that it's completely different from the United States, where we think progressive and liberal are kind of on the same spectrum.
That's true.
It's different over here, where they're not in the same spectrum. And like our liberal is their conservative, you know? So
I don't know. We might be in a better, it may be better to just, I don't know, because we're kind of comparing it to the United States. But he's not talking about the United States.
Yeah, we can't do that.
So,
we got to stop being American.
I know. Damn. Okay.
In a highly secular...
It's how we understand the words, though.
Yeah.
But that's why they're teaching us that those words don't mean the same thing here.
But I'm just thinking of all the stuff how I said, like, I'm comparing it to where my mother grew up and all this kind of stuff. But this is in the United States. So this is not. This is in Europe.
Yeah.
So I need to calm it down.
Calm it down.
Civilized continent is a big deal. What both sides can definitely agree on, though, is that all the child abuse scandals the church has been involved in that have come to light over the years has definitely exacerbated people's negative perceptions of it.
Oh, wow.
I mean, there's thousands upon thousands of cases.
Yeah.
But that, I fear, may be too risky to get into detail about on YouTube. Regardless, as I said before, everywhere in Europe is seeing a decline in Christianity. The foundations set in the Enlightenment period are even more apparent today. See, secularization comes as part of the package of advanced modernity, and modernization is simply irreversible. As more and more areas of life organize themselves without recourse to religious authority, the sphere of religion is diminished. For example, going to church used to be a thing many people did. It was free, but people were able to buy a bike or take a bus for a weekend adventure. For unlimited distraction, we used to just watch TV. Better yet now, there's social media. When people have more options, churches lose out. Naturally, this means each generation is getting...
Like, I don't think there's a huge church-going community in Spain. We see a lot of churches that they don't have church, like the one that's right across the street.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have church every Sunday or mass. Mass. People just go in there.
Yeah. And then the masses that we have seen go on just by chance when we walked in, they're not crowded.
No.
There's people, but they're all just, 3 to a pew or something like that. So they're not as crowded as I feel like they, we can't compare.
Depends on what's going on.
A holiday, something like that. Yeah.
Less and less religious. If we're to look at a chart of how young Europeans self-identify, most are barely religious.
Well, I'm looking at the different countries and see, Czech and Estonia, they're anomalies from what we've been watching. We've been watching a lot of the Nordic countries. Right. Sweden. Well, Sweden's the only one that's Nordic up there. Netherlands, UK. These are just the young people.
Norway.
And the young people are shaping how it's going to be in the future. Poland, of course, is way at the bottom.
Yeah. So this is how 16 to 29-year-olds self-identify. As no religion. That's the biggest. Christian or non-Christian religion. Okay.
Keep in mind that this data is unfortunately from 2018, as there's nothing continent-wide that's newer, so it's even less now. If we're to look into more crazy revelations, in 2014, then Archbishop of Canterbury Rowan Williams stated that the UK had become a post-Christian country. That same year, only 4.3% of the population participated in a Church of England Christmas service. Meanwhile, figures from the German Bishops' Conference have shown over 500,000 people left the Catholic Church in 2022, and that figure rises to 700,000 if you include deaths. It's significant as Germany is Europe's wealthiest country, the heartland of the Reformation, and historically home to large Catholic and Lutheran populations. Dwindling membership means the Catholic Church may have to give up a third of its properties, with churches potentially facing demolition. This process has already been well underway in the Netherlands, a country where more than half the population aged 15 and older have declared no religious affiliation.
Oh, go back to that? I was like looking at graphs. So this is
half the population aged 15.
So, I mean, I think that's kind of cool. Even in that early age, 15 to 17, they have an idea already.
None. Wow.
Protestant Church in the Netherlands, Roman Catholic.
Religious denomination or ideological group by age.
75. Well, 65. Okay, I'm just looking at these. So the older people are still remaining. Yeah. And that's kind of what we see here. I
mean, that's probably all over I don't know about all over the world, but yeah.
Well, here in Spain, the people who are sitting in those pews that we have seen are older.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
15 and older have declared no.
There's young people there too, but you're right.
Religious affiliation, leaving many priests burnt out and demoralized. Now, with all that being said, I think the idea that Christianity will eventually die out in Europe isn't really the right way to phrase it. Rather, it'll eventually transform into more of a cultural institution than an organized, value-based doctrine. Let me explain. If we're to look at France, for example, this is a country passionately secular. In fact, the term laïcité is a specific form of secularism that's a core constitutional principle enshrined in French law. It means the state is prohibited from recognizing any religion, religion is strictly separated from public institutions, and anything related to religion is even restricted in public spaces. For almost a century until 1960, France was consistently 97% Catholic. Yet today, only 25% identify as it, while the irreligious make up more than half the population now. Despite all this though, there's still a lot of traditions that happen in churches, even if it doesn't make people religious. Weddings, funerals, the public holidays of Christmas and Easter, these are all still celebrated, even if it's by those who haven't stepped foot in a church for decades. In that sense, Christianity will live on forever. But even in this sense, there has been some decline. Alternative baby naming ceremonies are gradually becoming more common, replacing the traditional baptisms. The number of civil weddings outstripped Catholic ceremonies for the first time in Italy in 2018, which had already happened in the UK in
Oh, I see. So weddings that are not in a church, they're in a community or
civil.
something. Oh, okay.
1992. In Spain, the numbers are truly crazy. 2009 was the first year that civil weddings had narrowly overtaken religious weddings at a 54 to 46% split. Yet by 2018, it became 80-20, a far cry from what was a strongly Catholic land in the days of Franco. The good news at the end of the story for all the Christian viewers here is that although Christianity is massively diminishing in Europe, that's not the case globally. In fact, the percentage of the world that is Christian has changed very little over the last 120 years. In 1900, 34.5% of the world was Christian. In 2020, the figure is 32.3%. This relative stability, however, masks dramatic changes in Christianity's demographics. According to this chart below and my hopeful accurate math calculations, just 22.4% of Christians globally are located in Europe today. Yet that number was 70% in 1900. Now, Africa's been the continent with the most Christians since 2018, surpassing Latin America, which, by the way, had surpassed Europe in 2014. By 2060, it's predicted that not a single country in Europe will be on the list of the 10 countries with the largest Christian population. So, to end this...
Oh, go back to that. So this is
by 2060.
Oh, okay.
So that's 40 years from now.
So the U.S. is going to remain. It is in 2015 it was number one, and it's going to remain number one. By their guesstimate.
Yeah.
Brazil.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
That is interesting, but all the numbers are down, even in the U.S. Wait, hold on. The percentage of world's Christian population is down. That's the number I was talking about.
Europe will be on the list of the 10 countries with the largest Christian population. So, to end this video, I think it's fitting to finish with a quote from Father Joseph Ratzinger, better known as Pope Benedict XVI. From the crisis of today, the church of tomorrow will emerge, a church that has lost much. Thank you for watching, and let me know what you think the future...
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's super interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I support that. I think before we even moved to Europe, we were, kind of like second guessing religion and our beliefs and what else is out there, what else is possible. Yeah. Before we even left. Like probably only a few years before we left. Yeah. But before that, it was.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
We haven't been practicing.
I've been questioning it a long time. So, I mean, probably when I was 18 or 19.
Oh, that's when Oh, that's true. That's true. You started questioning it. Yeah. Because of, we had friends from all over the world. Yeah. In different religions, and those people were all going to hell, and and we weren't.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that you probably in the last couple 3 or 4 years, you have been less like, I'm a Catholic.
Yeah, religion in general has been like, I don't know, I'm rejecting altogether the institution of it. But before that, we weren't practicing. Yeah. I was baptized Catholic. You were just Christian. Right. Non-denominational, I guess. Yeah.
So you're saying we fit in Europe?
Yeah, we fit in, I think.
Kind of all over everywhere.
Yeah, so. I like that the fact that science and, they started questioning things so many years ago. Yeah. And then it's just evolved. I think that's just really cool. Yeah. All right, let's take a look here and see what the people got to say. And anti means against. Being apathetic towards religion or simply giving religion less priority is something different. Funny how Estonia is on the thumbnail as blue and yet are mostly atheists. We didn't catch that. Didn't see the thumbnail. It's not anti-religious. It's secularism. There's a difference. Okay. All right. Well, that was an interesting video. There's a lot of comments on that one. People had something to say.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of comments here on this video too. So that would be great. let us know your thoughts in the comments, and we'll do our best to answer some of them, as much as we can. All right. Like the video, that would be great. And as always, thanks for stopping by, and we will see you on the next video.
Bye.
Peace.